Number one is the map. Number two is scouts and spies. Number three is divide and conquer, right? So I see, let's say you have to read your biology textbook, and let's say you hate biology or whatever, and you have to read chapter one, right? So there's one thing I do. I made a separate video about that before I even begin any task. I have this software that I made in Excel that tells me how long it's gonna take me to approximately finish a book, a chapter, whatever. I put the amount of pages I have to read, and I multiply by the amount of time I spend on each page, blah blah blah, and it gives me, an approximate number how long it'll take me to read a subject. Then, if it says, for example, 2 hours for chapter one, I will look at my daily planner. Remember, always pick one subject per day. Don't try to do two, three subjects in one day, one subject per day. But anyway, I will take the 2 hours of chapter one for biology, for example, and I'll plug that into my daily routine, into my daily calendar to see, to organize my day, make sure I get it done. But anyway, one of the strategies I want to show you guys is if you turn reading into like a video game, into a game or whatever, it becomes fun, and that's no longer homework. It's no longer all this tedious thing. Now it's something I actually enjoy doing. Uh, so let's have to read chapter one, right, of a book. I'll give you an example. Let me just grab a book here. It's gonna be easier to show you. Okay, this is the book on sociology, right? So you have to read chapter one. First thing I do is I use the system of a map. I pretend like I'm a general, and this is what I have to conquer, right? It's a city you have to conquer, a war you have to win. The first thing a general needs is his map, right? You need a map, a big overview, a big picture of the territory you want to conquer. So to me, the equivalent of a map is the summary of the chapter. So I go to the summary before I even read the book. I go straight to the summary, either at the end or the beginning of the book, and I look at. I'll just read the summary. What is the chapter about? Is it about the I don't know, the skeletal system, blah blah blah. So I get a big overview, kind of like the general sees the map. He sees the plains, the valleys, the mountains before he plans his war. So when you have a summary of the chapter, you have a direction. You know where to go next. Kind of like the general needs his map to know where to deploy his forces. The second thing that I use is scouts and spies, right? The general before once he has a picture, a map of the terrain and the country he wants to conquer, what does he do? He sends scouts and spies to kind of like, peep and see, okay, bring back numbers, bring back details. It's very important to know your enemies. That's basic Sun Tzu Art of War, right? So to me, my scouts and spies is I go through the chapter and I look for the bold letters, right? I look for the definitions, the charts, the pictures. If you go to chapter one, you see a lot of pictures of the skeletons. You know that the chapter is about, I don't know, like the human bones or whatever. And I look at the bold letters, everything that's underlined. Look at the charts. I look at the tables, the graphs, the pictures, and it's kind of like your scouts. They give you an idea of what you're gonna get into before you even read the book, before you even join the battle. Once you've done that, the summary, and then you send the scouts, you look at the definitions, all these things. You already have like 60% of the knowledge. You have what matters. Scouts bring back detail that matters. They don't bring back every fucking detail about the land you're gonna conquer. They don't tell you there's 300 grasshoppers on this. No, they bring the important details, and that's what reading bold letters and looking at pictures and charts does, as far as understanding the book. And the last thing I do once I have the big picture, I have the map, and I have the detailed information. I know my enemy. The last thing I do is I divide and conquer, right? That's the number one rule of warfare. You want to divide and conquer. How do you apply that to reading? So the first thing I do, I put it here, is momentum, right? Always begin. Don't just read the book from beginning to the end. Don't do that. Divide and conquer. Look for the weak points, right? Look for the things when a general fights another army, he looks for weak points and then attacks those weak points and builds momentum. How do you apply that to reading? Look for the things that you already know about, right? So let's say chapter one is on human anatomy, and you already know about biceps and triceps. I don't know, for whatever reason, because you studied it a lot. Read the parts of the book that you already know, because every paragraph has like a title. Every section has a title. Look for the sections that you already have knowledge on, or that interests you the most. This way, it's easy to keep reading. If you start with something that you hate, it's easy to get distracted and go on Facebook or whatever. Begin with something that you already know, what you're interested in, and you feed that knowledge, you feed that curiosity, and you build momentum, because it's harder to stop reading when you already gain momentum. You've been reading for a while, for 20 minutes, you don't want to stop. You're like, man, I already spent 20 minutes on this, might as well finish. Build momentum. Start with what you like and what you're interested in. So I call that momentum. That's number one rule of divide and conquer. Divide the weak enemy. In this case, divide what you already know, have knowledge on, and build up to what you don't know. The second thing that I wrote here is the envelope strategy. You guys know one of the techniques of war is you want to envelop your enemy. You want to surround them and close in on your enemy, right? So if you have like an enemy charging at you this way, you want to spread your forces from the left and right wing, envelop them and crush them. How do I apply that to reading? Well, when I pick it, let's say I pick a section to read, biceps, triceps, on the human anatomy section. When I pick a paragraph, I don't just read the paragraph. I read the first sentence and the last sentence. The first sentence gives me an idea of what I'm going to get into in the paragraph. The last sentence gives me the conclusion. And with the first, when you have the first and last sentence in your head already, it's easy to close in and find a thesis, which is the theme of the paragraph, right? Once you have the first sentence, the last sentence, the thesis, a lot of the stuff in the paragraph is useless, right? Unless you have plenty of time, you can read everything. But usually, I just look at the first sentence, the last sentence, and I close in on the thesis. Boom, and I do the final thing, which is to rename. When a general conquers a city, he divides and conquers, defeats, whatever. What does he do? A king, usually, what does he do? He renames it. He gives it a name to show that, hey, I've conquered you, I annihilated you, I subdued you. How do you incorporate that into reading? Once you read the first sentence, the last sentence of the paragraph, you closed in, you got the thesis, the theme, the main idea of the paragraph. Once you understand the paragraph, to show that you understand the paragraph, you want to paraphrase it. You want to name that paragraph. That's what I mean by reading. Rename that paragraph, right? Call it, if you understand it, it's easy to give it like a short name, right? So the paragraph is this big, but if you understand it, you could just name it whatever. Say you read about how this paragraph was talking about how the biceps and triceps move the arm, right? I'm just giving you a blunt conclusion, right? So you just rename that paragraph. You just write on top of the paragraph, you know, movements of the arm. Boom, simple, right? So you once you understand a paragraph, before you move on, rename it, paraphrase it, give it a new name to show that you understand it. You process it in your brain, and that's equivalent of a general or king conquering a territory and giving it his name or giving it a new name or whatever. So yeah, step one, get a map, big overview, summary, right, of what you're doing. Step two, send your scouts and your spies to, that's pretty much you going in and reading the bold letters and pictures to get like a detailed explanation of your enemy, overview of your enemy. And step three, divide and conquer, build momentum. Start with what's easy and go into what's hard. And when you're done, rename. So these are the three laws that I use. I call them the three laws of conquest. And you could apply that to fucking reading. You do this, reading becomes like a video game, becomes so fun, and you tackle class after class, book after book without losing interest. Don't just open and begin with first page and end with the last page. Do these fun techniques and you'll be amazed at how much work you get done. Hope this video helps. That's just what I do in my little crazy world to get through school. So I hope that helps. If it doesn't, message me or put on the comment section, ask me some questions, and I just, it's all about using your imagination. Be creative, right, guys? uh Dominance, discipline, direction. I'm out.